Hey folks, and welcome to Greg's Golf Shack. Today I want to talk about alignment and the importance of alignment as it relates to our golf swing. Now, when I'm teaching some clinics, it's often a common question that comes up. How do I know if I'm aligned properly? How important is alignment? What's going on? So sometimes when people are talking about the golf swing and what it relates to, they might mention it's like throwing a ball, like in baseball or something. And that's a good tip for understanding how weight transfer works up. If you're pitching a ball, you kind of shift into the trail leg and then throw it into the lead leg. And even if we're throwing underhand, notice that when we're throwing a ball, the path of our arm is relatively straight. It's kind of parallel with our target line. Even when we're throwing the ball underhand, you'll notice my arm is moving kind of in a straight line like that. And that's where this idea of a baseball throw is different than a golf swing, because we're not really trying to swing our club on a perfect path like that. What we're doing is rotating around. So our alignment is important because when we set up to our setup position like this, we're usually trying to have our feet, our body, our shoulders parallel with our target line, and the face of the club as well, kind of perpendicular, so it's square, pointing down our target line. So the importance of our alignment is we'd like to return to that position at impact, meaning that the club is square to the target line and our body is generally pretty square. We might be a little bit more opened up in the lower body just because of speed and everything, but generally speaking, we've got to turn our body and bring it back to that square position and then release through. So alignment is important because if our alignment is off, that could cause the ball to go off in an undesired direction. Now, I'm mainly referring to just a general kind of straight shot, just a general foundation or fundamental of golf. Now, certainly if we really want to shape shots or do something a little bit different, unique kind of golf shots, we can adjust our alignment as needed. But for just those general purpose of people understanding the importance of alignment, I'm just kind of focusing on that straight shot because we need to understand that if we want to manipulate our alignment to do something a little bit different. All right, so let's first identify where our target is off in the distance. So if this is our area here that we're hitting from, let's suggest that the flag on the green is somewhere out there. And that's our target line. Now, just as a test and get a feel for it, I'm going to use an alignment stick to kind of point our ball at that target. So I'm going to lay it down on the ball line there, step back, have a look, and I might adjust that a little bit. For the video, you know really what I'm trying to do. And this might be our ball line, how our ball is going to go to the target. So now, if I align my body and my stance to point at that same target, and I'm this far away from the ball, look how much of a difference there is in the angle between my stance line and my swing path, my intended swing path. Now, if I have a club in my hand and I'm standing like this and my swing path is there, that's what we call an over the top or an outside in swing path because it's outside of my stance line and coming across to the inside of my stance line through impact. That's an outside in. If our club face is closed, that's going to cause a pull. And if it's open, because generally with an outside in, our body will try to square up that club face a little bit, and that's where we get that really big slice. But even if you have a swing path that stays kind of in line with your stance line and your club face is square to that target line, that just means you're going to send the ball straight out to the right there. So the main issue here isn't really our swing path or our club face or anything. It's our stance line. We're aiming in the wrong direction. The ideal thought we would like is to have that stance line parallel to our target line, which means we almost want to have our body pointing out to the left of this target for a right-handed player, so we can keep everything a little bit more square. Notice this alignment rod is pointing kind of at that left green square on the screen, where my target line is still pointing straight down to that right side sticker on the screen. And that gives us a nice square alignment. Now, if we're practicing on a simulator or at a driving range, we usually have this assistance of the driving range mats or whatever the area is. There's some lines on the ground you can align yourself up with. So we're not really thinking about our alignment. We're just sort of following the directions that are on the ground there. But when we're out on the course, in the middle of the fairway or out in the rough somewhere, it's really difficult to find these patterns to help us align with our target. So we kind of have to make our best guess and feel. And I find when I'm golfing with people or giving a clinic, often they are pointed off in a direction that they don't realize when they set up. So I'll usually have them set up. Let's say the target is that square green dot on the screen. I'll say, okay, set up like you're going to hit that shot out there. And they'll set up and they'll get all ready and they'll get comfortable. And before they swing, I'll say, now stop. Stop right there, and I'll either put my club down along their foot line or ask them, now set your club along your foot line, and now step back and look at where that club is pointed. And they'll often come back and see, geez, that club is pointed way out to the trees on the right-hand side. And very often with a small adjustment, just squaring it up and getting a feel for where they are, and then picking up the club and hitting the ball, they often make progress right away because alignment really plays a significant part in how efficiently we hit the ball in its direction. So when you're practicing, I suggest you do that. Get set up and then lie that club down and see where your body is pointed. Maybe you'll be surprised. Now, if you're playing in a tournament or entering scores, if it's a serious golf round, we can't really do that. We're not really allowed to set down practice aids, alignment aids, those kind of things. But what you can do is, after you get a feeling for how to align yourself by practicing, when you're out on the course, you can take your club in your hands and kind of hold it like this in front of you. Put it on your foot line. Line your shoulders with it and kind of look down the line to see where that club is pointed. You can lift it up if you want and sort of see where it's aiming, and it might give you a better sense of where you're pointing. Now, some of us can struggle trying to align ourselves to a point or a target way off in the distance. So what we'd like to do is stand back and look at our intended target line. Stand back, look down it, and look for something in the ground. It might be a weed, a broken tee, or a divot. Something that is pretty much in line with our target line that gives us a closer target to square up our club and our alignment path on. Now again, I talked about those different sort of alignment paths our body and our swing path could be on. So sometimes it might help to also look for a weed or a dark patch of grass or something that might align a little bit more with our stance line. So I can kind of align this club up with that point in the grass, square my club up with that divot or broken tee or something that's out there, and feel like that's going to give me good alignment to that target way off in the distance. Now, when it comes to alignment, should you always be pointing square on your parallel target line? Well, not necessarily. And while I would advocate go get some lessons and try to improve all these positions in your swing path, sometimes we need a few quick fixes. And we all have unique swings. Some of us have a habitual outside-in swing path or an inside-out path. And adjusting our alignment to suit our swing can often help us a little bit. So if you tend to push the ball straight out to the right, you might want to open your path a little bit, and that straight ball flight will hopefully go down the middle. If you often pull the ball straight to the left, you might want to close your stance a little bit, so your swing path and everything will align a little bit better to your target line. Now, one issue I often see is people who struggle with a big slice or even a really big hook will often adjust their alignment the wrong direction to try to correct it. or accommodate it, and it ends up making the issue a little bit worse. So for example, someone who slices the ball will often have an outside-in swing path, and the ball will curve, say, from left to right for a right-handed player. And what they'll often do to accommodate that is open their stance even more. They're going to aim even farther left in hopes that that curving ball flight will come down and land in the fairway. The problem is we instinctively will probably try to open up that club face on the target line, so we're creating even more differential of angles here, and the ball is going to curve even more, meaning you're going to get a bigger curve. You might end up on the right side rough. You're not going to get as much distance because it's curving more than it's traveling straight. So same thing with somebody who really hooks. Often if the ball curves out to the right and comes back left, they'll think they want to accommodate it by closing their stance even more. And again, you're just creating even more of an inside-out path. Will instinctively probably close that face, and it'll create even more of a hook. So you might want to try adjusting your stance the other direction. So for somebody who slices the ball, rather than try to keep aiming further left, causing the ball to curve more, I would suggest you try to square up your stance, even challenge yourself and close your stance. Aim out to the right a little bit, and instead of trying to adjust your stance and swing path, adjust your club face. So if you aim out to the right a little bit with your big slice and you close that club face, your outside in swing path will cause a little bit more of a straight path because the path is going down the target line and you've closed the face to go straight down that target line. It's square to that line. So there's a better opportunity of you hitting it straighter by closing the face and also closing your stance. Same thing with a hook. If you're doing that, you might be better off opening your stance a little bit and opening the face. So if you really have an inside-out path in relation to your alignment, it might end up being a little bit squarer to the target line, and your face might be a little square, causing a straighter shot. Now again, I think it's good to get some lessons and try to fix your alignment and your swing path in general, but these are some quick fixes and how alignment can play a role in your golf game. Now when we get into shots like trying to hit draws or trying to hit fades and all these kind of things, we'll adjust our alignment to kind of accommodate those things and make them easier to hit. But if we don't really understand where we're pointing, where we're aiming to begin with, it makes it a lot harder to hit some of those specialty shots. So have a look at your alignment. Set up to your shot, put a club down on the ground for your feet when you're practicing, and just see where you're pointing. You might be surprised, and I hope you can make some adjustments to improve your game. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on Greg's Golf Shack.